Man United are in crisis at the minute, whether it's on the pitch or off it. We're 15th, yes, 15th in the Premier League and in £1 billion of debt. How on earth have we got in this situation? Like, genuinely, how has that happened? Well, I can tell you, the Glazers and their new best mates, Sir Jim and Ineos. Today I really wanted to have a look at our top 10 most expensive signings ever, just to actually see if they were good signings. And spoiler, there's very, very few out of the 10 that are good signings. And on the other hand of that, there's a lot that are bad. A lot. So Man United's 10th most expensive signing in our history is Mason Mount, brought in by Erik ten Hag last season. Brought in from Chelsea for around £55 million. Oh, it stings, man. It stings. Now, where do you even start with this one? Obviously, Mason Mount is a talented player. At the time of his arrival, especially at sort of the latter end of his career at Chelsea. And I was very much looking forward to see what he could bring to the Man United team. Obviously, he hasn't been able to do that yet because of injuries. But I can't help but cast my mind back to the time, and it was a baffling one at the time because having already got Bruno Fernandez, who plays in a very similar role to Mason Mount, it was hard to see where Mount could fit into the squad. It was Erik ten Hag's first choice signing in that season. He wanted him, he pushed so hard to get him. He was never going to give up on it, and the club were never going to give up on this signing. It was Ten Hag's priority. That's where the issue is for me. Mason Mount into his final year of his contract at Chelsea, and it was unclear whether he would sign a new one at the club. So why on earth are we as a club, when a player is into his final year of his contract at another Premier League club, are paying a premium price to get him? Why are we paying that? This should have been a 35-40 million signing. He's got 1 year left on his contract. It's either he goes now, either Chelsea can sell him now, or they lose him for free next year. Talented player who has massively struggled with injuries so far. It's 100% a flop. Hopefully he can turn it around under Amorim. We've very rarely seen him play under him so far, again, because of injuries. Yes, guys, it's time to talk Best ZV. A football shirt website that never lets you down. Insanely cheap prices and with a delivery time of no more than 10 days. Best ZV is certainly the best out there. Do you see what I did there? Just as an example, here are two I picked up. I went for this retro orange number, Marseille 11-12. It's very nice. It's got Champions League printing, as you can see. Very clean, and I don't really own many orange shirts, so it was nice to get this one. And I went for this insane Malaga shirt from 2012 to 13 season. A blackout shirt from a club I absolutely adore. This was one I had to get. If you want to get your own top quality fake football shirts, head over there now. Next up is our captain, Bruno Fernandez, coming in as our 9th most expensive transfer of all time. £55 million was paid for him at the time, coming in from Sporting Lisbon. With this one, it's clear Bruno Fernandez hasn't been a flop. Come on, he's not been a flop signing. In fact, he's probably up there with one of our better signings since Fergie. Made an immediate and positive impact when arriving from Sporting in January 2020, I believe. Even that 20 to 21 season, that was unbelievable. The amount of goals he scored, he was a joke. He's always available, which is probably the best trait to have as a football player. You can tell he really cares about the club, and obviously the performances, they can fluctuate. You can fluctuate in form from time to time, but overall he's our captain. I wouldn't swap him for anyone in our team at the minute. That might be, some people might disagree with that one, but that's for me personally. Revitalised Man United's midfield with his creativity. His consistent performances have made him a key player and one of the most successful signings in our most recent era. So for me, yeah, Bruno Fernandes has been a success, 100%. In at number 8 is Casemiro. He cost a lot. Man, come on, I'll never forget that first season. Came in from Real Madrid in 2022, obviously with a high reputation, winning 5 Champions Leagues and countless other trophies in his time at Real Madrid. As much as Casemiro was quality in season 1, the last 2 have been a failure. He was shocking last year, and so far this season he's really lost it. Why did we give him a 4-year contract and 350k a week when he was 30 at the time we brought him in? I'll never know. More shocking business from the club yet again. I always loved Casemiro from his time at Real Madrid and in that first season at Man United, but it's clear he's been a flop. Wow. Next up, in number 7, is another current player. Rasmus Højlund is our 7th most expensive signing ever. Coming in for around £70 million from Atalanta. Wow. Now, Højlund has massively struggled since coming to England, it's fair to say. And to be fair, yes, he was talented at Atalanta, but I think we, and me included, made out like he was better than he actually is. He tries, he does, but the quality just isn't there at the minute. Seems more bothered about the defender, like backing into him, than he does the ball at times. Very rarely scores, which obviously isn't a good trait for a striker, is it? I think it's also because I'm used to seeing the big names up front, like big goal scorers, and we've gone from that to having two young number 9s in Xerxes and Højlund. It just isn't hitting right now. I'm sure there is a player there, whether he needs a low move or a proven number 9 needs to come in to help fluctuate his form. I don't know. I don't know. But he's been a definite flop so far. Next up is one of my most hated football players on this earth, Angel Di Maria, coming in for 70 million again from Real Madrid. Real Madrid pull our pants down half the time with these transfers. He was poor. Don't get me wrong, he had moments, but for 70 million I expected so much more. We ended up selling him to PSG after just one season for like 60 million, so we actually lost 10 million again, so no surprises there. Again, another flop. The halfway mark, in comes Romelu Lukaku as our 5th most expensive signing, 75 million from Everton. I was so excited for this one when it was made because it was Mourinho's 2nd season in charge. We already had the likes of Pogba, Martial, Rashford. We brought in Matic in this window on a free as well. So it was looking really positive. Zlatan was still there, so we still had the big names. Now you can see where I'm going, just going back to the Højlund thing. Højlund, Xerxes, Zlatan, Lukaku. Levels to this shit, man. Lukaku, for me, was actually underrated in his tenure at Old Trafford. I feel like he's criminally underrated from his time. I think a lot of people look back and say he was rubbish, he was a flop. I think you could say he's a flop, right? I probably am going to say he is a flop. But it is so close between flop and a success. Obviously, it wasn't a success. We didn't really win anything. But he did score goals, man. Lukaku did score goals at United, including a double away at PSG in one of our best nights in our modern era as well. He was decent, Lukaku. I don't know if he was 75 million decent, but he certainly wasn't bad. It's going to be a small flop for me. Like I said, it's definitely close. Jesus. Next up is Jadon Sancho. Again, 75 million paid for him from Dortmund. A player I definitely overhyped at the time, and a player we took 2 years to actually sign, by the way. And again, another player who flopped for big money. I think Sancho was an attitude thing again, similar to Di Maria and other players we've had in the past. We're always going to get that out of club, but I think he thought he was better than he actually was. He has just been bad, man. And he's still technically at the club as well, which is bad. Obviously, he's at loan at Chelsea at the minute. Another absolute flop to the highest order. We're into the top 3 now, and Sir Harold Maguire comes in next. He's a bit of a cult hero, isn't he? Some love him, some hate him. I do love him. I do love Harry Maguire. I love him, but he is a flop, straight up. Let's be real. Again, we paid a premium price of 80 million at the time, which raised eyebrows everywhere, certainly in our fan base and others as well. He's had good seasons, he's had bad seasons, but the bad seasons were bad. And he was even made captain at one point, which I don't think was ever a good idea for him personally. He's gone from barely featuring under Ten Hag to play near enough every minute under Ruben Amorim. He certainly has benefited from Ruben Amorim coming in. Obviously, we've recently triggered that 1-year contract extension in his contract as well, so we're going to be seeing a lot more of him as well. Coming in at number 2 is Anthony. Yet again, we spent 80 million on another player. Did we not learn from last time? And he's now on loan at Spanish mid-table club Real Betis. Well, I say mid-table, they're sort of fighting for Europe, aren't they? To be fair, he might have found his level because he's killing it over there at the minute. He arrived with high expectations and never really lived up to them apart from his first 3 games where he scored 3 goals. We paid well over the odds. I think we could have got him in June for around 50 million and we ended up waiting all the way to August and paid 80. Why? Crazy, crazy business. Flop, of course. And finally, on to number 1, Paul Pogba, our most expensive signing ever. £90 million from Juventus, the team we gave him to for free originally. This is a man who's only played for United and Juventus in his career as well, 2 spells at each. And he may end up taking that tally to 3 at Man United. He's heavily linked to us at the minute. I've always loved Pogba. There's just something about a tall, agile, flair midfield player that I like. He was a flop, don't get me wrong. We paid 90 million, but I just loved the player and I think he had many signs of not being a flop in his tenure, but it just didn't work out in the end. There you go then. Jesus, how many flops was that? Was that 9 out of 10? Yeah, we're bad at spending money and we don't actually have any money to spend whatsoever at the minute, so we can't possibly make those same mistakes. The club's a mess from top to bottom. We already know that. Let me know your thoughts and I'll see you next time.